Okay, those next two steps, as happens when we're doing videos, my camera shut off in the middle of them, so I'm just going to explain what I did, but they weren't much. I took my knife and I rounded, all right, this down here, all right, went around the back, rounded here a little bit, okay, because we don't want that to just be straight down, all right, so that kind of rounded his beard off there, all right, and we got our hat cut in, that we did, have everything working and taping for. Sorry about that, guys. It happens. But that's all I did there is I just kind of shaped his beard so it comes down a little bit more to a point. It's not even really a major point. And now the next phase is, or what I did do in the next phase is I took my gouge, all right, and to make the transition easier and to start giving him texture, I just started going around all that excess, all right, and shaped these little grooves and started taking wood out, okay, just like this, getting ready to put hair in, and it actually almost looks like hair now. And that'll make, because we're going to run a V-tool through this, all right, but that'll make the transition of the V-tool a lot smoother, and it gives the carving a little bit of texture. I like to go around the mustache right here. When I do that, that helps it stand out a little bit more, all right. Same on this side. Make sure you go around the mustache. All right. Get that to stand up a little bit more because we're going to blend all this in with our V-tool and finish giving him hair. All right. So that's what we're coming up with now. And that's what we did there. And that's all. So no biggie. And that's what I did. And those are the tools that I used. Just my knife and a gouge. And the gouge leaves all these cool little marks that actually insinuate hair already. Now the next step is to get our V-tool out and start running that through and getting some shadow in these little valleys and making his hair look a little bit more interesting. Okay, so now we're here with the V-tool. This right here is the one that's shaped like a V, of course. All right. Doesn't really matter what size. And we're just going to start running some random lines off the wood and in those grooves that we made. Doesn't have to be exact, all right? And the more of this we do, the more it's going to start forming deeper lines that will insinuate his hair, okay? Now you can bring that hair all the way up and into the cheek if you want, and even put some going into the cheek. But for now, we're just going to run a bunch of these lines all through all of this part that's going to be hair, all right? See those marks the V-tool makes? All right, and that's what we're going to do there. And we're going to do the whole carving like this. Well, everywhere we want hair anyway, all right? And especially around that mustache where we cut out, I'm going to make sure that I V-tool that out a little bit to make it stand out just a little bit more, all right? And that'll all blend in pretty nice then. So on the sides of that mustache, just run that V-tool down also, okay? You can even go underneath it to take out a little bit more wood if you like. All right. And just go through the whole thing and make a bunch of random lines. Try to keep kind of a flow to them. Make them all start, you know, keep the flow of the hair going pretty much in the same direction. Try not to make them too straight. Give them a little bit of movement. Okay. And that's all personal preference, how much. Sometimes you only want to put a few lines. Other times you want to do the whole carving. That's totally up to you and your preference. Okay. Depends on what you like and how it looks to you. But that's all I'm doing is going right around. And when I get to the corner or the sides here, I just go right off the wood like that. And that separates the hair sometimes also. Okay. See how now he's got beard hair? So I'm going to do a little bit more here. I'm going to go around, and then we'll try to come up here and we'll work on his eyes to finish him up and some detail work. Okay, all his beard hair is in. I put a couple of lines in his mustache, and I even took my V-tool and we re-went around the lines right here, right, coming down his cheek, and made sure they were standing out. One point to note, you can use your V-tool to shave if you lay it on your side. And what I did was I just kind of laid it on the side and I went up my carving around the edges because I don't like sharp edges. You don't want any sharp edges on your carving. And I took those marker lines that we had on off, okay? So remember, if your V-tool, if you lay it on the side like this, even up here, you know, and I wanted to shave here, I could use it as a chisel, the flat side of that V-tool, and just kind of clean things up. Now, since I have it in my hand, I'm going to separate the eyebrows here by pushing that V-tool straight up and into the hat, popping that out. And then I'll take my knife and just kind of clean that up a little bit. And that way it'll separate the eyebrows at the top. Just like that. And I'll push those back a little bit. Stop cut. Push them back so that they go up and under his hat a little bit, all right? And then we'll round them off with a couple of small cuts. We don't want them, again, not really a lot of sharp edges or anything on them. And now we're ready to put some kind of eyes in here, all right? One more little piece there. And now he's got eyebrows. Okay. Now, I am going to push that nose just a little bit more up and underneath those. All right, so I'm going to push right here and pull down just a little bit. And then I'm going to push that wood up and underneath that so the eyebrow actually comes over the nose there. All right. I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to make a small V-cut and come underneath the eye just a little bit, or that eyebrow. And then we're going to push that wood in and up and underneath that eyebrow. Because we want those eyebrows to stand out. And we want the nose to go up and underneath them. Okay. So when we view it from the side, it's actually going up and underneath those eyebrows. And again, go up to the top. Anything that's chipped up, clean up with a couple of extra cuts. And get all that to kind of blend together. All right. But try to keep that nose going in between the eyebrows and up and underneath them. Okay. Just kind of like that. Okay. Good. He doesn't look too bad from the side. He's got a little bulbous nose, which is kind of nice. Now let's figure out some quick little eyes. I'm going to take my V-tool while I'm here, and I'm just going to reinforce this eyebrow at the top with what we already have there. So I cut a line and then kind of went up where we just cut that nose in to separate there. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to come down along this eyebrow from the top down and then over. And now his eyebrows are standing out pretty good. I might want to take this one and extend it just a little bit. So now he's got the eyebrows cut in really good, and now we can start forming an upper and lower lid. All right, so I'm going to take my V-tool there, and I'm going to make another cut, just like that. And that's going to be his upper eyebrow, or eyelid, I'm sorry. So I'm going to come over here, I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to do it from this side because I want to push it into the nose. All right. Just like that. All right. So now I have 1, 2. All right. Now up here, I want that upper part of that eyelid to show. So I'm going to reinforce that a little bit by cutting that eyebrow in a little bit more with my V-tool. And then I'll go back underneath here and reinforce that eyelid that I just made. Okay. Just like that. Same over here. I'm going to run on top of that. Make sure that it's visible. All right. And then I'll recut that lower one just a little bit. And the other one's a little longer, so we're going to make this one a little longer. That's all. All right. And now he's got 2 slits for eyes and an upper eyelid right there, an upper part of his eyelid, which is up here. I could even take my knife and run that across, all right, with a stop cut, and then push that wood up and underneath it to clean that up a little bit, if I can. And if your knife isn't cutting, definitely just drop it. We've covered that. And you can also cut, put a stop cut in there and take a little bit more out of that lower eyelid. It's not the lower eyelid, but it's the lower part of the upper eyelid is what it is. Okay. And that's what we're doing there. Let me get this little chip out of here. All right. So now he's got 2 slits. One eye's a little higher than the other. I'm not worried about that. That'll just give him a little character. Can you see that? Upper, lower. That's one eyelid. The other eyelid is going to be on the bottom. And what we're going to do for that is take some wood out first with our gouge, and then we'll put the lower one in. So I'm going to take my gouge again. I'm going to come over here to the corner, and I'm going to scoop a little wood out right here, right at the bottom in the corner of that lower eyelid. And I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to do the same. I'm going to scoop a little out there. Okay, try not to dig into the nose too much. That's going to leave a mound in the middle. I'm going to do the same thing over here. Come to the end, scoop a little bit of wood out. Just like that. And I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to scoop a little bit out. Not too much, because I want to leave a little bit higher in the center there. All right, and what I'm doing is I'm forming a mound here that we can make an eyeball out of. It'll just be a little easier to do if we have a little extra wood there. Okay. So now we have something that looks like that. I'm going to take my smaller gouge for this, though, so I don't take too much out. Where is my small gouge? Here we go. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to... Where's my marker? Over here. I'm going to try and get this... to kind of do something like that. I'm going to scoop this part out and try to get that mound a little bit more shaped. That's a V-tool. We don't want that. I want a small gouge for this. So very little, very carefully, all right, because I don't want to break any eyelids. I'm just going to take a little bit more of that out. Watch the side of your nose here. Try to get that marker off. All right. And we're trying to maintain a little bit of a mound in the middle there. Okay. Doesn't have to be a perfect mound yet. Eyes are going to be the thing that's going to drive you crazy. All right. I'm going to do the same here until you get them, but keep practicing. Or you could just leave the slits and he'll look good like that too. But sooner or later, you're going to want to do eyes, and this is one of the way we do them. All right. Now, I want to extend. I did take a little bit of that eyelid off, so I'm going to just re-stop cut that with my knife. Take a little bit of that corner out. And that'll extend that. So then he still has that, okay? Again, where you put the stop cut is where that cut's going to stop. And then relieve wood up to it. And go underneath it. And bam, we got our eyelid back, okay? Now, what we're going to do is we're going to start taking the corners out of these eyes. All right, I'm going to do that by just pushing in with my knife right in the corner like that. Push in there. We're making a small V cut. We're going to come over and try to pop that chip out. It's just a little V-shaped chip, and that's going to give some shadow right here, okay? And this way we can start rounding off some eyeballs in there. All right, the biggest thing about making these eyeballs is to try and get them round, so you're going to have to take the corners out. of this mound. All right, same over here. We're going to make a small V cut here. 1 and 2. All right, if I hold it here, 1, 2, just making a V-shaped cut. I'm going to come up, try and pop that out. All right, just like that. And now he'll have some shadow here and some shadow here. All right, then it's a matter of cleaning all this up and rounding that eyeball over. I got some marker here I want to get off. All right, I'm going to do the same over here. Push in, make sure you're going up under that eyelid. All right, try and take that chip out. And if you got to do it a couple times with that V cut, that's what you do. All right, take that out. Same over here, right in the corner. Connect it with a V cut. See that V-shaped cut there? All right, and then try and pop that out. The more you do this and the more you practice it, the easier it'll get. Okay, and once you have that done, just kind of round downward with your knife. And then about halfway down, round up and underneath that eyelid. Try not to break your eyelid. And you'll start getting those eyeballs a little bit rounder. Just enough so you can put some pupils in and they'll look like eyes. Otherwise, he's just going to look too flat and you're not going to like him too much. All right. So the more you can round those off and get them to look like little balls inside, the better your eyeball is going to look. All right. Remember, it's round. Your eyeball is round. So you do, if you have to take the corner out a couple of times, oops, and keep rounding, go about halfway up, round down, so you can get that wood to pop out, okay? And then come and do the other half and round up. And like I said, it takes a little bit of practice. You're probably going to dig up your wood a bunch of times until you get used to it. Make sure you're using a sharp knife. Hone it if it's not cutting. All right, and try and get that to round. And the rounder you get it, the better your eyes are going to look. Okay, I might do a little more on this side, and I'm probably going to clean up over here. And this is just something that goes with the territory when you're learning. It's a wood carve. And practicing eyes is a big part of that. The more you practice, the better you get. Big important point, make sure that any part of this eye mound is definitely going underneath that eyelid that you carved, okay? And the bottom you just push down, creating a stop cut. You can even make one with your knife to push that wood into. I'm just trying to round this one off just a little bit more. I might get my bigger knife because my handle always ends up in the way. And you should start getting some eyeballs there, or eye mounds that are nice and round that we can put eyeballs in anyway. So it's just a matter of taking those corners out and rounding those off, which again is going to take lots of practice. Okay? No worries. If it doesn't look the way you want, just keep taking those corners out and keep practicing. Eventually you will get it. Okay? The rounder you can make them, the easier it's going to be to put those pupils in, and the more it'll look like an eye. All right? Make sure that goes up and underneath that eyelid. Any part of that eye mound should go underneath the eyelid. And you're going to dig up your carving, like I said, and it's going to drive you nuts for a while. But with practice, you'll start getting it. All right. All right. He's ready for some pupils. Okay, and last but not least, we're going to have to give this guy his pupils. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a very small veiner with a very little sweep on it. It's got a pretty good sweep on it. I think this right here, I believe this would be around a number 8 sweep, all right? So it's a pretty good U, all right? But this is considered a veiner because it's so small and the sides are high, all right? I can even use this to clean up a little bit in places besides doing the eyes with it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it over here. And since that's a U shape, if we push that in and we turn it just a little bit, making sure it goes up and underneath that eyelid, okay? So give it a little bit of a turn. Make sure it goes up and underneath the eyelid. Pull it out. Come over here on this side, do the same thing. We're just going to push it in. Give it a turn. Pull it out. And we're going to take our detail knife. And we're going to pop those chips out. All right, and that's how easy it is if you round those eyeballs off good enough to get it to look like he has eyes. Okay, you see that? And you don't want to put these directly straight ahead. You want to offset them a little bit so it gives him a little bit more interesting look. And the only thing you have to do from there is we could take our V tool, we could take our little gouge here or little veiner, and we could take a little bit more wood out and give him some detail, some eye bags. Okay, just like that. Come over here and take a little bit of wood out here underneath that to give him a little bit more interesting look. All right, a couple of character lines here. I'm just using this little veiner for that, but what I like to do is take a little wood out and then I'll get my V tool and I would run that in the same lines I just cut, just enough to give it shadow, and that'll start giving him some wrinkles and eye bags. And you could play with that and do as much as you want or as little as you want. All right, I like to give him crow's feet, you know, maybe a couple lines on the side over here, a couple lines over here right at the corner where that eye stops and meets. And you can also put a couple of lines up here on his eyebrows. Okay, like so. Get that chip out there. And the same on this side. I'll try to get them to run the same direction. And we'll clean up that eyebrow just a little bit by separating it a little bit more. I might have to do a little sanding in there or take the tip of my knife. Okay, whatever I want to get that eyebrow to stand out the way I want. Could even dig a little bit with it. All right, and we have ourselves our first little wizard or wood spirit, or whatever it is that you were making. All right, so that right there is pretty much how I would do a wizard. You can go around with your V-tool, add some extra detail if you want. Practice these techniques. Hit them with a little bit of sandpaper afterwards. I like to use 220 on basswood. You could take your Dremel and a diamond carving bit, a very small one, and run over this if he's dug up a little on you, because it is basswood. Okay. You can make this guy on sticks. You can make them on cottonwood bark. You can make them on basswood like we did here. But the whole idea is to get used to the techniques with your hand tools, see what they do, and you have a way to make a face, and you're on your way to learning to carve with your knife a little bit better, hopefully, and your hand tools, and that's how we make a wizard. So I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something. Give me a comment, give me some suggestions, and we're going to start carving a lot more on this channel and doing things with our hand tools and with our Dremel. We'll show you the same way that you can make some stuff with the Dremel, and we'll also do a few with the chainsaw now that spring is coming. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got a lot of tips and got something out of it, and I'll see everybody in the next one. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll start building this channel. Thanks again, guys. See you soon. Bye-bye now.